Ladies and gentlemen Vikings fans, you won't believe what we have for you today. Breaking news from the Minnesota Vikings camp, and it's an absolute bombshell. But before we dive into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because you won't want to miss any of our Vikings updates. Sam Darnold threw for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against Kirk Cousins and the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday. The Minnesota Vikings' 2024 season is not unlike their 2017 season. In both seasons, the starting quarterback went down with an injury and the journeyman backup quarterback went on a miraculous run. Much like back then, the journeyman Sam Darnold has turned heads. The Vikings stand as one of the only teams who may catch the Detroit Lions in the NFC, and they couldn't do it without Darnold. At least, that is what conventional football knowledge dictates. Justin Jefferson has helped, but Jefferson was predicted to do so. Whether it is the Minnesota Vikings or anyone else, no player can overcome a quarterback throwing a handful of interceptions. Of course, no one may know just how important a quarterback is to their team than former Chicago Bears quarterback Chase Daniel. A 3-year veteran in the NFC North named 4 teams that could end up with Sam Darnold if the Vikings tap out on him. Daniel made his thoughts clear in a December 11th edition of the facility. In the last 4 games, 11 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's first in the NFL passer rating of 126.7 in the last 4 games. He's making a case not only for the Minnesota Vikings to re-sign him, but for other teams. These quarterback-needy teams, Giants, Jets, Browns, Raiders, could go out there and get him, he said. He went on to write off the NFL draft route entirely. You've got to look at the draft situation next year with these quarterbacks. Maybe it's not a great class top to bottom, so all these teams are going to need quarterbacks. When you put it on tape, even if it's for a small portion of the time, teams are excited about that. Regardless of what you were in the past, if you prove to me you can do it at a high level in the toughest division, yeah, you need to re-sign him, he added. Sam Darnold could end up going the way of Case Keenum in the offseason, and that isn't necessarily a bad thing. Keenum, who was the backup quarterback who led the Vikings to the NFC Championship in 2017, ended up getting an unchallenged Day 1 starting job with the Denver Broncos. Darnold could end up in that capacity with the New York Giants, who may want to rebuild more of the surrounding roster instead of going straight for the quarterback with their top pick. When it comes to the Jets, Browns, and Raiders, Darnold might make sense as a high-end bridge quarterback. It all depends on how the final draft order lines up, but bringing in Darnold could give the team a chance to win now and win later. Perhaps the most intriguing ticket seller would be to see Darnold return to the Jets, assuming Aaron Rodgers retires or gets moved. The Raiders make a ton of sense as much of the fan base would love to get a new face in the building for Week 1 next season, and they find themselves on the cusp of starting from scratch at quarterbacks as well. Will Darnold get a second shot with the Vikings, or will he once again find himself on the move?